Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to just implement a couple things. I'm going to hopefully get pterodactyl to player collision going on, pterodactyl to vulture collision going on. And the pterodactyl to player collision is a little special because if our joust is at the same-ish area of the pterodactyl's open mouth, then we're gonna detect a collision and kill the pterodactyl instead of kill the player. So I guess maybe the first thing we're gonna do is add pterodactyl to vulture collision. Now, this is where our pterodactyl logic is. I'm gonna write pterodactyl collision, but we need a okay, so now we can kind of close that if we need to. So instead of like there is a time where we cycle through all the vultures like up here, and we could check pterodactyl collision in that very same loop, but part of me wants to just keep it completely separate. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but we cycle through the platforms here. This is the pterodactyl platform collision. Then this would be our pterodactyl and vulture collision. Okay, so we need to cycle through all the vultures. Our vultures are stored in a table called vultures. So we'll just say for index vulture in pairs vultures table, do if self.monster. See, now here's the thing, we need we've got the left collides function in our monster, but instead of a platform parameter, we give it a vulture instantiation parameter, and if we left collide, then we do the left logic. Else if self monster right collides with vulture, do right collide logic. Else if top collides with the vulture, do another thing. Else if our monster bottom collides with any vulture, then do that. So if our pterodactyl left collides with a vulture, then we are going to we're going to say our vulture.dx gets swapped to a negative. Actually, hold on, this isn't quite right. Maybe we take the absolute value just in case there's a weird left collision when we're moving left, because the pterodactyl is faster than the vulture, so that could technically happen. So we don't want to just swap the dx, we want it to be negative, which is why we put the absolute value times -1. So if our pterodactyl left collides with one, we know the vulture needs to go left, so we multiply it by -1. And then we need to do another two things, which is set our self.monster x to be equal to the vulture's x plus the vulture's width, so just outside of colliding. And then, oopsie, we also need to take our monster's dx and turn it positive instead of negative. So we need to make sure it's positive, so we would take the absolute value of our current self.monster.dx. So we're doing three things here. We're making sure our vulture moves left after a left collision with the pterodactyl, and the left collision is in relation to the pterodactyl. So the pterodactyl's on the right side of the vulture in this case. That would mean our vulture would need to bounce left, if not already moving left. Then we need to reset our pterodactyl's x position so we don't detect another collision on the next frame. And then we swap our dx to be positive. Make sure our dx is positive so that we're going to the right. We also need to ensure, I'm actually kind of curious how. Oh, right here. So our facing right is determined by our dx, but I don't think that's exactly, well, no, that should work. Yeah, so depending on if our dx is positive, we're facing right. If our dx is negative, we're facing left. And that facing left and facing right is how we control whether or not we swap our sprite. So we shouldn't have to worry about that. So when we bounce off a vulture like this and our dx turns positive, in here in our pterodactyl update, it'll say, oh, dx is positive. Now that means we're facing right. And then it'll render the appropriate facing right. So that's good. Let's do our right collision. So it's similar. So we're gonna say, if right collides, we need to ensure our vulture gets a positive dx. And then we need to move our pterodactyl's x to be equal to the vulture's x minus the offset of our self.monster width to be on the very left side without colliding, and then we need to make sure that our monster's dx gets negative. So we're gonna take the absolute value of our dx first and multiply it by -1 because we need it to be negative. We just multiply it by -1. If it was a negative, it would become positive, and that's not what we're trying to do. So we have to take the absolute value and then multiply it by -1. Now, actually by a positive. Wait. We right collide. We need to move negative. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Now if we top collide with a vulture, do we bounce the vulture down in that scenario? Probably. Probably. I don't exactly know. We'll just take our vulture's dy and we'll make sure it's positive, meaning downwards. So we'll just make it the absolute value of its current dy. And then we need to move our self monster. Self monster's y needs to become not the vulture's y, but the vulture's y shifted by the offset of our self.monster's height field. And then we need to swap our vulture. We need our vulture to kind of bounce off the top of our bounce off the top of the vulture. So self.monster dot dy gets times by -1. Yeah, I don't know if the absolute value is exactly necessary here, but in theory, if there's like a tier 3 vulture and he's jumping really fast, faster than the monster is going upwards. No. I don't know. I don't think it hurts. We'll just keep it there for now. So our monster's dy will become negative, meaning us bouncing, and our vulture's dy will become positive, meaning them sinking. And then, oh, this is top collides. Top collides. So this is actually your bottom. If we bottom collide, yeah, we're bouncing off the top of a vulture. But if we top collide, oopsie. We top collide, we need our vulture's dy to bounce upwards. So we'll say, we'll do math dot absolute value of our current vulture's dy times a -1. And then we'll set our monster's y to be equal to, if we top collide with a vulture, we need our y to be the bottom of the vulture, so not our vulture's y, but our vulture y plus the vulture height, the frame before a collision. And then we need to set our monster's dy as, we top collide, we need it to be downwards, which is positive, so we just need it to be math.absolute value of the current self.monster.dy. So now this line of code here, this line of code should take care of all the pterodactyl and vulture collision. So now the pterodactyl should be bouncing amidst all of the vultures. Nope. Play state. Well, 263, I said slef. The slef. That's a not so big an error. There it goes. See, it bounced? It bounced, hit the vulture, and switched directions. Dunk. See it? That's cool. And then, you know, we need to add the pterodactyl killing us. But now it's bouncing off the vultures, which is nice. Not just flying through the vultures, it's still flying through us. To be expected. There we go. See it bounce off them? Nice. Nice. That seems like it's working, right? It swaps the... See how it bounced off the top there? I think that's good. That's looking like it's working. That's awesome. I love that. Oh, okay. So now that we got pterodactyl vulture collision, I want to try to figure out that sweet spot of hitting, you know, the collision detection for the kill. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, is different depending on which side the pterodactyl's facing. I don't know if I want to tackle that just yet. I gotta head out soon. I got like 30 minutes before I gotta head out. Seeing Tom Segura tonight at the Kiva. Gotta head out with my family soon. We can at least get started. You know, we've got, maybe we commit this. We'll add everything to the staging area and commit with a message saying added pterodactyl to vulture collision logic. We'll push that to our origin main. So we've already got a commit, and then we can further mess with it. The reason I'm hesitant to start the player and pterodactyl collision is because we have to check not only, you know, most of the time if the pterodactyl hits the player, it's going to be the player's dead. But if it's on frame 3, that means the pterodactyl's mouth is open and our Y is in that same range of his mouth, and there's a collision detected. That's when we need to actually kill our pterodactyl, but also if it's flipped, it needs to be different. So depending on which way it's facing is a slightly different collision detection. So that's why I was worried to start it, but I think we could probably pull it off, maybe. So I think the best way to do this is gonna be basically what we did yesterday, where instead of, we're gonna turn off, we're no longer gonna update our pterodactyl's X with our DX. We're instead gonna update it based on the mouse position, right? And that means we need to give ourselves these variables back. And then, is that enough to get, oopsie, is that enough to get, yep. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set manually our facing right to false, so we're facing left, because I want to test a certain collision, you know. We need to do something like that. So like, see that frame when his tongue's out? If it's a collide and it's anywhere in this range, we need to print out, or you know, we need a variable that gets marked true if it's in those ranges, and it's on frame 3. So, gosh, I'm freaking hot. I need to wear a lighter shirt again. I'm just like, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. out of water. Give me a sec here. Mic back on. Sorry about yesterday where I forgot that. Okay. Well. That's feeling better. Okay, so we need, I guess we can use the same. No, we can't. We need to make a new collision function that detects whether or not we are in that range of killing him. Because we don't want. Actually, maybe we can do so my reasoning is we can use pterodactyl : left collides with our player instantiation. And we can say, hey, if we're left collide, then we check the y's. And then we say, hey, is the y in the certain range of the height? And then, if so, do the appropriate, either kill the pterodactyl or kill our player. So, it means a couple things. We'll need to do a last x and a last y, much like our eggs, so that when our pterodactyl dies, we can render the fourth frame, the death frame of our pterodactyl, this one, at the last x and y at which it was before it died. So we'll need to add that, and then we also... Yeah, okay. So I guess let's just try to print something out. In our play state here, in our pterodactyl collision part, we're gonna say and the thing is, we have in our pterodactyl a thing called frame, and that's how we're controlling the cycling through the sprites in our animation logic. So if we're on self frame 3, that's when we need to check collision. Actually, yeah, I mean, it's a little different than that. We need to check collision, or it's like, I think we need to check the instance, or we need to check if whether or not it's a special case. And the special case being our joust is inside the pterodactyl's mouth first. And then if it is, kill the pterodactyl right away, or and then otherwise, if it's just a left collide and not that special condition, we know we just need to kill our player. So we'll also need a death state for our pterodactyl that moves it to the graveyard. But actually probably, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking if we move it to the graveyard in frame 1, and then we render sprite 4 using the last x and last y, then our object will still technically be off screen, but our render will be at the very last frame that the pterodactyl was alive during. So we'll have to update our last X and Y as long as we're not self-exploded, which we'll need to add to our pterodactyl class. And then we need to render the exploded or the death sprite for X amount of time before it disappears. Okay. So here in our pterodactyl collision, we are going to say if, and our player 1 is the instantiation of the ostrich, and we get a new player 1 upon dying, so yeah, we get a new player 1. And it's not a self player 1, it's just player 1, which still a little confused about when I do that or not, because we have a self.monster in our playstate class. Yeah, maybe we don't need self.monster. Maybe we just give ourselves monster, I don't know. And the reason I chose monster is because I didn't want to spell pterodactyl all the time. I guess we just go for it. If our self.monster. So first of all, we need to check if our self.monster dot facing right is false. This is equals a quality operator, not assignment operator. If we're facing left, then pterodactyl facing right. So if our monster's facing left, then if self.monster dot left collides with a player 1 instantiation, then player 1 dot death gets true. So right now, since we're only facing left, our pterodactyl's only facing left right now, let's just see if this, oopsies, see if this kills us. Pterodactyl 24 is a nil value. Pterodactyl 24. Oh no, left collides. Do we not get instantiated right away? What are you talking about, homie? I'm gonna say if player 1 dot invulnerable, is that what it's called? What is it called when we spawning needs to be false. We need our timer temporary safety. There we go. So if not temporary safety, if not player 1 dot temporary safety and monsters facing right, then if we're colliding, left collides with the player 1, then we die. Come on, man. Nil value on left collides. That's left collides with the player 1. Why does that not work? It's not. That means when this function's being called, this player 1 has some nil values, which shouldn't be the case, because we update player 1 here. I don't know when we would need to update our player 1 versus all this other stuff. Kind of tempted to move this player 1 update towards the end before our render and see if that might fix it. Nope. I don't know why it's not liking that. It says index collidable a nil value. It shouldn't be nil value because if you look at our left collides function, it needs a .x, a .width, a .y, and a .height for the collidable argument. And if you look at our ostrich, we've got an x, a y, a width, and a height. And we've got it right away. We've got right here. This is our x, this is our y, this is our width and our height. So I don't understand why it would be a nil value there. The only thing I could think of is that it's not a self. I just don't know why that would make a difference because we're doing other stuff with it. Oi. I don't know why it's failing. Left collides player 1. Why would that not work? Oh. Dot left collides, not colon left collides. Okay, so if we left collide now, we should die. Cool. And not temporary safety, so as soon as our temporary safety ends, it can kill us. Okay, and then it shouldn't kill us if it's over here, which is not always going to happen, but that's good. Okay. It's almost like we also need it to kill us if it bounces, if it bottom collides, or if it top collides. It needs to kill us as well. So let's do that. So we're going to say if monster left collides, or this is just for it facing left, so I'm going to say or top collides, or bottom collides, then it kills us. So like basically in most scenarios it's going to kill us, but then we need to get that exception case where we die. So let's see if bottom collision kills us now. Yep. Let's see if top collision kills us now. Come on. That was the vulture killed us that time. Okay. Cool. So right collision still doesn't kill us, but any other collision does, so. Not temporary safety. We can actually say else if not, and then the same thing, just we have to be explicit about this because there's two conditions. If not temporary safety and we're facing right, then and we have to specify this because we have to check. We need to check if the joust kills the pterodactyl first, and then we check for the collision and kill us if that's not true. So we need to just make a note of that first. But if we're facing right, we got to do the same stuff. It's just slightly different. We need to say our monster right collides. Because if we're facing right, if it right collides or top collides or bottom collides, then we kill us. But first we need to check that special use case. Now, shoot, man. I'm like really close to having to go. So I'm kind of thinking I just leave it here. I'm gonna leave myself a note. Okay, just leave myself a little note there. Because we need to do this implementation, which in order to do, we need to debug, write some stuff on the screen to determine if we're in the right spot or not. So yeah, I'm gonna call that good for now because I just don't want to have to rush. I'm gonna add everything to the staging area with a commit message saying started to implement pterodactyl to player collision, and then push it to our origin main. And then tomorrow we're going to be fleshing this out, hopefully finalizing that pterodactyl to player logic. So today we added this pterodactyl vulture collision logic. We actually did add the kills player logic. We just have to add the player kills pterodactyl logic and just to instantiate pterodactyl upon death. And we also need to render death frame at last x and y. Render ptero death frame. And then we can work on the spawn points and the spawn. And then we can also, this is something we probably should have done earlier, randomize direction of vulture spawns. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow and we'll try to get the rest of that stuff fleshed out. Peace.